And here we are. Welcome back to the Retro Sophomore, where we never sit out. I'm your host for today, Matthew Dawson. CD. Chris Dawson is not here today. He will be back soon, though. I promise. I know you guys are missing him bad because these episodes are a lot shorter when he's not here because he's my guy that I can bounce off of. And we can, there's a lot more talking points when I'm with him. But I thought I'd give you guys, a nice episode here on the 14 team playoff that's been reported by Heather Dinich and Pete Thamel. Now, this is a little bit late, and I'm sure you guys are all watching March Madness, and you guys don't care that much right now. Believe me, I got my Morehead State versus Illinois game up right here in front of me. But I do think it's important to talk about this because this was bigger news, and I'm not sure why it wasn't talked about more. I mean, it was talked about for that brief instance there, but I I definitely just wanted to walk through what this means for the future of college football. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys check out the potentially hitting that like button, maybe a subscription. If you guys are liking this content and you guys want to come back for more, I promise you, when CD's back, these episodes will be better. I can promise you. All right, but for today, you just got me. So you're gonna have to deal with that. All right. All right. Good, 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 good. Also, too, spring transfer portal window's gonna open up here pretty soon, and look, we'll be all over that. CD and I will be all over that. You guys saw us covering a lot of transfer portal, lots of transfer portal stuff in December, January, and even February. We covered a lot of that stuff. So make sure you guys are following, subscribing, and also on Spotify if you're listening, make sure you're following there. Give a 5-star review if you really like the content as well. But thank you guys so much for supporting everything we've done. The channel's grown faster than we could have imagined, and we got high goals, and we need you guys to help us get there. So we appreciate you all so much. But we're super excited for the future of this channel. So you guys just keep tuning in. But yeah, I mean, it's already been reported by On3 Sports that Caden Proctor, former offensive tackle of Alabama, newly offensive tackle for Iowa, it's already been mentioned that he's going to go back in the transfer portal. Does that mean he's going back to Bama? That's a lot of the smoke right now. I have no insider information on that whatsoever. Now, that's a big deal for Iowa because it was a massive deal to get him back. He was the number one transfer portal, probably player in the transfer portal. If you take out Caleb Downs, but in terms of like positional value, if you weigh that in there too as an offensive tackle, then yeah, like Caden Proctor was probably the best player in the transfer portal this past offseason. So the fact that he's going back, and if you remember, it's new legislation that's allowing kids to transfer as long as they're in the transfer portal before a certain date, they're able to um basically transfer a second time without any repercussions. So he would be able to play right away if he transferred back to Alabama or whatever other school that he ends up going to. So just some crazy thoughts. We might see a lot of these. Are we going to see a lot of double transfers this spring? We might. Like this might be the craziest spring portal that we've ever seen. And actually, I'm not going to say maybe it will be the craziest spring portal that we've ever seen. But anyways, if you're watching on YouTube, you can obviously see the graphic in front of you right now. 14 team playoff in 2026. Here's the report. The college football playoffs move to a 12-team field will be short-lived. Starting in 2026, the college football playoff is expected to expand from 12 to 14 teams per ESPN's Pete Thamel. That's nuts. They haven't even given the 12-team playoff a chance. Now, here's the quote from the article. The college football playoff is on the brink of moving one important step closer to an expected 14-team playoff that would begin in 2026. As the 10 FBS conferences and Notre Dame are pushing to meet a Friday deadline. Now, this was back March 14th, so this was last week. Meet a Friday deadline to agree that the next contract and inform the college football playoff if they will participate in the playoff in 2026 and beyond. So multiple sources told ESPN on Thursday that each league and Notre Dame are expected to sign a legal agreement by midday on Friday. Starting in 2026, the new agreement will codify the further financial separation of the expanded Big Ten and SEC from everyone else in college athletics. The Group of Five commissioners have been in a difficult position without any negotiating power, but sources indicate they won't choose being excluded from the college football playoff. It's also too, what does this also mean? So if you have a 14-team playoff, and say you have a certain number of auto bids per conference, like and they're unequal, you're gonna have unequal revenue sharing in these conferences, which it's ironic because you open up the playoffs to more teams and you think, oh, let's create some parity, right? But then the second you add revenue disparity between these teams and these conferences, that is just creating less and less parity. So it's an oxymoron is what they're trying to accomplish here. So I don't know. I was never a huge fan of moving to a 12 team playoff in the beginning, and now that it's at 14, I mean, I don't see as big of a difference between 12 and 14, to be honest. I do think it's, you know, maybe not as good because it removes yet another bowl game. But here's the thing about that, though. You get one extra game, or actually, you had two extra games, I think. Yeah, you had two extra teams, you had two extra games. The nice thing about that, though, is that uh, those two more extra bowl games are going to mean something, like to these players. You're going to see less opt outs. Hopefully, if you see opt outs in these playoffs, like, oh boy, we're going to have some serious trouble here. And then at that point, I don't know how to fix the bowl season. But look, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're not watching on YouTube and you're listening on Spotify, I would encourage you to go ahead over to YouTube because we have graphics here. It makes things easier to follow along. This is what the bracket would look like this year, right? Now, for 2026, there would, because there's no longer five Power Five conferences, and they don't say that as part of the college football playoff committee. That they don't say Power Five. I believe they don't mention it, but now it's Power Four because the Pac-12 is becoming the Big 12 and the Big 10. So there, instead of six auto bids like I have here, there would actually be five auto bids from conferences. You're assuming your top four are from the Power Four, and then the last one's from a G5 power. Your highest ranked G5 uh, conference champion. So in this year, that was Liberty. So it'd be your standard four at the top, right? It'd be Michigan, it would be Washington, Texas, and Alabama. Those teams won their respective conferences, and then FSU would come in at five per the college football playoff rankings. Six would be Liberty because they are the sixth highest rated conference champion. So instead of being the 13 or 14th seed, like they probably would be, they get stuck in at the sixth seed. And actually, what's crazy about this is that if you're the 11th seed, this is your path to the college football play. Like you're in a better spot if you're the 11th seed because you play that. Well, I guess in the future format, it would be the 12 seed because they're playing the five, right? Because it'd be five auto bids, and then the number five seed would be that G5. But in this scenario, Penn State would be playing Liberty, and then the winner of 3 versus 14, which is LSU Texas. So pretty nuts. What I also think is nuts too, it's like you're adding more games to the season for these teams. So like you could have like a team like Penn State that makes it to the Big Ten championship, and they lose that, and then they get an at-large bid, and then they got to win the national championship. They would have played the conference championship game plus um your 12 games in the season. That's 13, and then plus one, two, three, four games, a 17 game season. And yet, when they made the rule, of course, to change the first down rule and not allow for the clock to stop after first downs, they were, of course, saying, well, that's going to save. It's going to save kids, it's going to, for health, for health purposes, we're reducing the number of plays. Well, for some teams, you're not reducing the number of plays if you're adding an entirely another game for them to play. So I don't understand the hypocrisy of the NCAA in terms of dealing with that, but I don't know, man. I don't know. This is all very unprecedented. I don't know entirely what to think about everything, what's going on right now, but the other thing too about the auto bids, say you have like three SEC auto bid or two SEC auto bids, two Big Ten auto bids, your conference championship game doesn't mean anything in terms of your playoff standings, right? Of course, the conference championship game means something, right? Like you win your conference, that's a big deal, and that should not be overlooked at all. But it doesn't mean anything except for seeding. Like, and here's the thing: you could win your conference championship, and then also like if for instance here, right? Say you were Georgia in this instance, right? I mean, or I guess Ole Miss, I guess. I don't know. Like you could have a situation where you end up drawing a better team by losing in the conference championship. Like you can end up being that 12 seed and that large because you lose your conference championship game. And that 12 seed would get you that, number five seeded conference champion, right? That's the G5 conference champion. Like that. That's just a way better matchup than for what, the conference championship would be facing the first round, unless they're 1 and 2 seed that gets a bye. So it's very odd, man. It's very, very odd. It feels like it could work out. It could work out. I have no idea if it will. Surely these ratings are going to be ridiculous, but I wouldn't say that the health of the sport of college football is directly correlated to just TV viewership. Like there's a lot of other things that are much more important than just your media rights money, because like that money doesn't go to the players, it goes to the universities, right? And like that doesn't necessarily funnel back into college football, I guess entirely. It does to some degree, but the health of the sport of college football, I believe, is just it's based on traditions, right? That's what makes it different. Uh, and how each individual school is so unique and certain games are made much more important. Like regular season games, like they just matter so much more. And when you add more teams in the playoffs, some of those games matter more, but a lot of those games matter less. Like you could end up having a situation where Ohio State and Michigan plays each other last week of the season, then they play each other in the Big Ten championship, right? Because the new Big Ten format, there's no divisions, so they play each other twice. Okay, and then you could have a situation where they play each other again in the college football playoffs. Basically, not 3 weeks in a row because you got that break before those bowl games, but you could have a situation where you end up playing a team 3 times in a certain season. And I don't think that's the way college football is necessarily meant to be played. Now, I think as a viewer, if I get to watch Ohio State Michigan play 3 times, I guess that's not the worst thing in the world. But man, I this is all crazy, dude. This is all crazy. It's 12-team playoff. I thought was crazy enough, man. I thought it was crazy enough, but here comes two more. Here comes two more. So let me know what you guys think about all this stuff going on because I think a lot of people have different opinions, and I think it's important to look at like multiple different perspectives, like when it comes to like rule changes like this and format changes. For me, it just feels a little unnecessary, and I would definitely hate the auto bids idea because then you're just devaluing. Then don't play the conference championship games. It's like don't make some of these kids play 17 game seasons. Like that's nuts. They're gonna have to be doing that in the NFL. If they choose to do so. Like that's wild. And you talk about player safety. You're having an 18-year-old game play 18-year-old play a 17 game season. Uh, geez, that would be just nuts. I mean, I can't even imagine like what kind of injuries would come up from that. Like, I don't think that I don't think the playoffs are gonna have any opt-outs in it, but like, we'll see, man. We'll see. We'll see if conference championship games have opt-outs. It's like I wouldn't think that they would, but you never know, man. You never know. Things are crazy in this sport right now. Things are crazy. So starting in 2026, ESPN is poised to spend an average of nearly 1.3 billion on the playoffs for 6 seasons. This deal would include the 2 final years in the current college football playoff contract, plus a new 6-year agreement for the next iteration of the playoffs, which is totally ESPN. So that would be through 2031, I believe. So yeah, nuts, nuts, man. So yeah, I guess I already I like the idea of one automatic qualifier, but if you have two and unequal revenue distribution, like for teams, like I I wouldn't even know, man. I wouldn't even know that because one, that doesn't even guarantee that you're going to get the best teams in the country in, right? Like the goal was of the college football playoff from the start in their whole mission is to get the best teams, which we could argue about that back and forth for days about whether they've actually accomplished that mission with just a 14 playoff. But then if you have all these automatic qualifiers, and you could end up leaving out some other pretty solid teams, man, for some conferences. Like in a year like this year, like where the Pac-12 had an unbelievable year. Now, granted, okay, you only have one Pac-12, two Pac-12 teams in here. Uh, but a team like Arizona would have had a chance, like at the end there if they had. I don't know. Dude, this is nuts. This is nuts. This is just my reaction to this 14 team playoff. I know it's coming a week late. I know all of you guys have already had your thoughts and formed your opinions and whatnot, but I would love to hear your opinions. Just let us know in the comments like what you guys think, and whether or not you're nervous for the sport of college football. I'm not nervous about the sport of college football heading forward, but I certainly we just head into the future of college football with a lot more uncertainty than I believe we did before. So, but yeah, I mean that's all I got today. If you're watching YouTube, that's what the bracket looks like. That's so many teams. That's so many teams. If you think about it, like the bracket's even bigger because you have your conference championship games that are, essentially, I guess it's double elimination for a lot of these Power 5 teams. But Yeah, that's nuts, man. That's nuts. So, anyways, thank you guys for checking us out today. I know it's a short video. CD will be back soon. We'll have much more long form videos. We'll have much more stuff to talk about. The transfer portal window in the spring is coming up. Schedules are being released for 2025. A lot of stuff is going on. So, but thank you guys for checking us out. We appreciate your support. As always, if you like the content, just like the video, consider subscribing as well. If you like this content, you want to stick around for a little bit. We'll appreciate you listeners on Spotify as well. Give us a follow, give us a 5-star rating. Yeah. And if you're on Spotify, I would encourage you to also check us out on YouTube as well, for when you're not driving to work in your car, you know? So, anyways, we'll see you guys in the next one.